The world didn't give him a warning. No whispered caution, no gentle decline. One moment, Robert, 68, was reaching for a flower pot on his porch. The next, his world tilted. His vision blurred, his legs buckled, and a crushing tightness gripped his chest. His hands, once steady and strong, grasped at empty air, but gravity was unforgiving. He felt himself falling, powerless to stop it. When he opened his eyes, the warmth of the sun was gone, replaced by the sterile glow of hospital lights. The rhythmic beep of a heart monitor filled the silence. He tried to move, but even that felt foreign. His body, the same body that had carried him through decades of hard work and independence, now felt fragile, uncertain. The doctor spoke in calm, measured words. Blood pressure dangerously high. Stress on the heart. A warning sign. But Robert barely heard him. His mind was drowning in a single, paralyzing thought. Is this where it all changes? He had always believed he had time. Time to ignore the small aches. Time to keep pushing through fatigue. Time to worry about his health later. But later was gone. He wasn't ready to slow down. He wasn't ready to lose his independence. He wasn't ready to become a burden. And yet, in that moment, staring at the ceiling, he realized none of us ever think we are. He thought of all the things he still wanted to do. The laughter of his grandchildren, the feeling of their small hands in his. The places he had dreamed of visiting. The simple joys of walking through his garden, feeling the earth beneath his feet. Would all of that slip away, not because of age itself, but because of choices he had unknowingly made? And then a new thought broke through the fear. What if this wasn't the end? What if this was the beginning of something different? Because here's the truth: no one tells you aging doesn't steal your life. Ignoring it does. It's not the years that take your strength, your independence, your freedom. It's the silent habits, the small choices, the warnings we dismiss because we assume we have time. But what if I told you that you still do? Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can wait for a moment like Robert's to force you into change, or you can take control before that happens. The years between 65 and 75 are not the beginning of the end. They are the foundation for the years ahead. A decade from now, your future self will look back at today and either thank you or wish you had done things differently. So I ask you, which future will you choose? Today, we're going to uncover the hidden mistakes that quietly steal your health and independence. And more importantly, we're going to show you how to take them back. This isn't about fear. This is about freedom. But before we begin, I want you to do two simple things. First, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is here to give you the knowledge and tools to live stronger, longer, and with more joy than ever before. And second, stick with me to the very end, because the most important lesson could be the one that saves your life. Now let's get started. Henry never thought twice about balance. He had spent a lifetime moving with ease, standing strong, carrying his own weight without hesitation. At 73, he still enjoyed his morning walks, still felt steady on his feet, still believed that age was something he could outrun. But then, just like Robert, his moment came, a moment so fast, so merciless, that it stole his confidence before he even hit the ground. It happened in the safest place he knew. His own bathroom, a space so familiar he could navigate it in the dark. The steam from his morning shower still lingered in the air as he stepped forward, his foot meeting smooth tile. And in that instant, the world shifted. A sudden slip, a frantic grasp at empty air, the heart-stopping realization that nothing, no strength, no instinct, could stop the fall. The impact was unforgiving. His hip slammed against the cold floor, pain exploded through his body, and the room blurred into white-hot agony. He tried to move, tried to push himself up, but his body refused to obey. And for the first time in his life, Henry felt something worse than pain, helplessness. The hospital lights were too bright, the doctor's voice too calm. A fractured hip, surgery, a long recovery ahead. He heard the words, but all he could think about was everything they truly meant. The loss of independence, the fear of falling again, the quiet dread of knowing that life, as he had known it, had changed forever. He had heard stories of people who never fully recovered, who went from walkers to wheelchairs, from movement to stillness. And now, lying in a hospital bed, he wondered, was he about to become one of them? The truth is, falls are not just accidents. They are turning points. They steal freedom in the blink of an eye, transforming strong, independent people into cautious, fearful shadows of who they once were. 1 in 3 adults over 65 will experience this wake-up call. Some will recover. Some never will. But here's the part that should keep you up at night. Most of these falls could have been prevented. Because it's not just time that robs us of stability. It's the small, overlooked dangers, the loose rug we meant to fix, the dim light that turns a familiar hallway into an unseen risk, the unsteady chair we reach for without thinking. And it's not just balance we lose, it's confidence, mobility, and the quiet assurance that our own home is truly safe. But here's the thing. This is not inevitable. This is not just part of aging. This is a mistake you can stop before it happens. Right now, you have a choice. To wait and hope or to act and prevent. Because the truth is, it's not about if a fall will happen. It's about whether you'll do something before it does. Robert had spent his entire life believing that strength meant pushing through. It was in the way he carried himself, in the way he never asked for help, in the way he still lifted heavy things when he didn't have to. He wasn't the type to take shortcuts. He wasn't the type to slow down. But the thing about life is, it doesn't ask for permission before it teaches you a lesson. That morning had started like any other. The garden was calling him, and he welcomed the ache in his muscles as he bent down, ready to haul a heavy bag of soil over his shoulder. He had done it 1,000 times before. But as he straightened up, something shifted. A sharp, searing pain tore through his back, sudden and unrelenting, like a wire snapping inside him. His chest clenched tight, unforgiving. His breath caught. For a moment, the world around him faded, his vision edged with darkness. He braced himself against the wooden fence, trying to steady his racing heart, trying to will his body back into submission. But this wasn't like the old aches, the ones he could walk off. This was something different. Something he couldn't ignore. The doctor's voice was calm, almost routine, but the words felt like a hammer striking stone. Blood pressure dangerously high. Risk of heart strain. Warning signs of a stroke. Words he had heard before, words meant for other people, not him. And yet, here he was, a man who had spent his whole life taking care of everything and everyone, now faced with the unsettling truth that he had failed to take care of himself. For years, he had thought slowing down meant weakness. That adjusting meant giving up. That being careful meant being incapable. But in that moment, he realized strength had never been about endurance. It had never been about proving he could do what he used to. Strength was knowing when to push and when to pause. It was understanding that his body wasn't failing him, it was warning him. And for the first time, instead of ignoring it, he did something different. He listened. But here's the real question. Will you? The numbers didn't make sense. Martha had always been careful, always saved, always planned, always believed that if she just lived within her means, she would be safe. But now, staring at the total on the bill in her hands, her breath caught in her throat. She read the number again, then again. But no matter how many times she looked at it, the reality didn't change. A sum that stretched beyond what she had set aside, beyond what she had ever imagined needing. She had done everything right. Clipped coupons, skipped luxuries, put money away when she could. But saving is not the same as preparing. And now, for the first time, she felt something cold settle in her chest. Not just worry. Not just regret, but fear, because money isn't just money. It's choice. It's the choice to get the care you need without hesitation. The choice to live where you want, how you want, without waiting for permission. The choice to never have to ask, can I afford to take care of myself? It's the difference between freedom and dependence, between dignity and uncertainty. And no one talks about this part of aging. They talk about staying active, about eating right, about keeping your mind sharp. But what about the late-night worry? The quiet, creeping anxiety of wondering how much longer the savings will last, of watching medical bills pile up, wondering if you'll have to rely on your children, wondering if the independence you fought for is slipping away. The truth is, most people don't prepare for this moment until it's staring them in the face. But it doesn't have to be that way, because it's not too late to take control. Financial security isn't about luck. It's about intentionality. It's about having a golden years fund, not just a savings account, but a plan. A system that ensures that when you need your money, it's there. That you're not just holding on to what you have, you're making it work for you. That you're spending wisely, not fearfully. Because aging should come with security, not uncertainty. Martha looked at the bill one last time, then made her choice. No more hoping for the best. No more waiting for someday. Because financial freedom isn't something you stumble upon, it's something you build piece by piece. She took her first step that day. The only question now is, when will you take yours? Eleanor never meant to drift away. It happened slowly, almost imperceptibly, like sand slipping through an hourglass. At 75, she still remembered the days when her phone buzzed with invitations, when laughter echoed through her home, when conversations stretched long into the evening. But over time, people got busy. Children grew up, friends moved away, and the once familiar rhythm of daily connection began to fade. At first, she barely noticed. She told herself it was normal, part of getting older. She convinced herself she was fine. She enjoyed her solitude, she said. She didn't want to be a burden. She told herself that if people wanted to reach out, they would. And so she waited. Days turned into weeks, then months. The phone sat silent. The invitations stopped coming, and even though she rarely said it out loud, the loneliness settled in like a shadow that stretched longer with each passing day. What she didn't realize was that loneliness wasn't just a feeling. It was a silent thief. A thief that eroded her sharp mind, that dimmed her once bright spirit, that whispered lies about her worth. The world tells you that heart disease, strokes, and memory loss are the real dangers of aging. But no one warns you about the slow, invisible damage of isolation. No one tells you that loneliness can raise your risk of dementia by 50%, that it can be just as lethal as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. No one tells you that, despite everything, the most dangerous place to grow old is often in silence. But here's the truth, staying connected isn't just social, it's survival. The warmth of a familiar voice, the touch of a friend's hand, the joy of sharing even the smallest moments, these aren't luxuries. They are lifelines. The mind stays sharper when it's engaged. The heart stays healthier when it's full. And no matter how many years pass, the need to be seen, to be heard, to be loved never fades. So Eleanor made a choice. She picked up the phone. She called an old friend. She joined a book club at the community center. And slowly, life started to return, not just around her, but within her. And now it's your turn. Who will you reach out to today? For most of his life, George believed in the power of movement. He had always been active, walking to work, lifting heavy grocery bags, tending his garden with pride. But at 72, something had changed. The aches lingered longer, the stiffness came faster, and the idea of exercise, once so natural, now felt uncertain. Was it still safe? Was he too old to start something new? So he did what many do, he slowed down. Not intentionally, not all at once, but little by little. The walks got shorter. The gardening became less frequent. And before he knew it, days would pass without him truly moving his body. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't weakness. It was fear, the quiet kind that sneaks in when you start questioning what your body can still do. But here's what no one tells you. Stopping is the most dangerous thing you can do. Because the moment you stop moving, your muscles weaken. Your balance declines. Your joints stiffen. And the less you move, the harder it becomes to start again. It's a cycle that turns strong, capable people into those who struggle to stand up from a chair, who fear stairs, who hesitate before taking a simple step. But the truth is, you don't have to train like an athlete to stay strong, you just have to move the right way. Not all exercise is created equal after 60. The days of pounding the pavement, lifting heavy weights, and pushing through pain are over. Now it's about moving smarter, not harder. The best exercises aren't about intensity, they're about consistency, about building strength without strain, about staying mobile without risk. Walking keeps your heart strong. Swimming protects your joints. Resistance bands rebuild lost muscle. Tai Chi restores balance and control. These aren't just workouts, they're investments in the years ahead. But knowing what to do isn't enough. You have to take the first step. And sometimes the hardest part of starting is simply knowing where to begin. So here's your challenge. The 7-day Gentle Strength Challenge. 1 week. No pressure. Just small, intentional movements designed to help you feel stronger, steadier, and more in control. A few minutes a day. A chance to reconnect with your body. A way to prove to yourself that it's not too late. Because movement isn't just about exercise. It's about independence. It's about freedom. It's about waking up each morning knowing that your body is still yours to rely on. So tell me, will you take the first step today? For years, Margaret lived by one simple rule: save first. Spend later if there's anything left. She had been raised to be careful with money, to be practical, to never waste a single dollar. And so she saved. She clipped coupons. She turned down invitations that felt too expensive. She skipped the little luxuries, convinced that being frugal was the key to security. And yet, at 74, she sat alone at her kitchen table, staring at her bank statement, one that showed she had more than enough. Enough to travel, enough to enjoy, enough to live. But when had she last allowed herself to really live? She had spent decades protecting her future, but in doing so, she had forgotten to enjoy the present. Because here's the truth, financial security isn't just about having money, it's about knowing how to use it to create a life worth living. Too often, we fall into extremes. Some spend recklessly, worrying about the future only when it arrives. Others hold on too tightly, treating every dollar like something that must be hoarded, afraid to touch what they've spent a lifetime building. But money is not just meant to be saved. It is meant to serve you. It is meant to buy you freedom, experiences, moments that matter. Because at the end of it all, no one looks back and wishes they had just one more zero in their bank account. They wish they had one more memory. So how do you spend wisely, without guilt, without fear, but with intention? It starts with the smart spending rule. Set aside a happiness budget, a dedicated amount meant for joy, not obligation. Whether it's for travel, painting classes, a long overdue visit to family, or simply the best cup of coffee in town, this isn't wasteful spending. It's an investment in your well-being. And here's your challenge. Identify 3 simple joys to spend money on this month. Something that brings you happiness, something that adds richness to your life, something that reminds you that money is not just for surviving, it's for living. Because after all these years of careful saving, the real question is, when was the last time you spent money on something that made your heart full? When Richard lost his wife, he thought he could handle the silence. At first, he kept busy, cleaning the house, running errands, watching TV. But the evenings were the hardest. The quiet stretched longer, the phone barely rang, and little by little he found himself withdrawing. He told himself he didn't want to bother anyone, that his kids had their own lives, his friends had their own routines. But loneliness doesn't announce itself loudly. It slips in quietly, in the way you stop making plans, in the way you hesitate before dialing a number, in the way the days start to feel just a little emptier. What Richard didn't realize was that staying socially connected isn't just good for the heart, it's essential for the brain, the body, and the soul. Science proves it. Strong social ties can add years to your life. People with meaningful relationships experience less stress, lower blood pressure, and a reduced risk of dementia. The simple act of laughing with a friend, sharing a meal, or even exchanging a few words with a neighbor can literally keep you healthier and sharper for longer. So here's the challenge: make connection a habit. Schedule a weekly lunch or video call with a loved one. Join a book club, a gardening group, a walking club, something that brings you joy while surrounding you with people who lift you up. Because true wealth isn't in what you own, it's in the people who show up for you, who remember your stories, who make life feel full. And if you've been waiting for a sign to reach out to someone you miss, this is it. Eleanor always believed that age was just a number. At 78, she had no interest in slowing down, not physically, not mentally. She had read once that learning something new could reduce the risk of Alzheimer's by 30%, and she took that as a challenge. So she picked up a paintbrush for the first time. The strokes were shaky, the colors uncertain, but it didn't matter. Her brain was working, creating, growing. And she felt something she hadn't felt in years: excitement. Because here's the truth, your mind is like a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it stays. The people who keep learning, who stay curious, who continue exploring the world, whether through books, puzzles, or new experiences, those are the ones who stay sharp. The brain thrives on challenge. It craves new information, new skills, new ways of thinking. And it's never too late to start. So here's your next step: create a curiosity list, 3 things you want to learn in the next year. Maybe it's a new language. Maybe it's mastering a new recipe, playing an instrument, or solving a new kind of puzzle. Whatever it is, make it something that sparks joy, challenge, and discovery. Because the secret to a long, fulfilling life isn't just in how well you move or how wisely you spend, it's in how much you continue to grow. So, what will you learn next? A year ago, Robert never thought much about aging. He worked hard, pushed through aches, and told himself he was fine until his body forced him to listen. A near fall, a lingering pain, a moment of exhaustion that felt different this time. That was the wake-up call. So he made a choice. He slowed down, not because he was weak, but because he was wise. He strengthened his balance, adjusted his home, and learned to move with care instead of force. He stopped waiting for connection and reached out, rekindling friendships that filled his days with laughter instead of silence. And now, a year later, he is thriving. Not because he reversed time, but because he learned to work with it. And now it's your turn. Because aging isn't about decline, it's about adaptation, about deciding that every year can be richer and more meaningful. The life you want tomorrow begins with the choices you make today. So start now. Check your home for fall risks. Step outside for a walk. Call a friend you've been meaning to reach. Take one action, no matter how small, to create a life that is not just longer, but better. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what is one change you will make today? If you found this helpful, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Story for more inspiring life lessons and practical ways to thrive after 60. Because aging is not a burden, it's a privilege. And what you do with it, that part is up to you.